Recording. Hi, everybody. We're on. I was looking through. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first Honest Media Show, and happy National Gardening Week to everybody too. Thank you all for joining us today. We've been planning this for months, and we're really excited about bringing it all together. So, firstly, I just wanted to let you know we are recording this, and we are posting on social media too. We've had quite a few people say they'd like a recording of it later in the day, so we thought we'll grab it and people can join in as and when they want to. We'll just ask if everyone can stay on mute throughout, and we can just jump to people as we need to. Just avoids any background noise. There's going to be opportunity to ask questions throughout, so just drop those in the chat and we can be jumping on there to pick those up as we go through. I've just got a few more people coming in, so I'm just going to keep admitting. So put your questions in the chat and we'll come to those if we can, and if not, we'll come back to you later on in the day. If you've got any issues, sort of your sound's not working or anything going on, put that in the chat as well. We've got the Honest team here who'll be on standby to help out if you need anything. We're going to be posting on social media throughout if we can, so please join in too and do the same. We've got the hashtag Honest Media Show if you want to be sharing anything that you like the look of as we go through. Still some more coming through. So as I'm sure we all know by now, the horticulture industry has flourished in the past 12 months with more people than ever joining us in discovering the joys of gardening. I'm sure we all feel incredibly fortunate to be working in this industry. I know I certainly do, and I'm very grateful for everyone's support with Honest over the past 2 years with everything that's been going on. While Zooms like this have helped fill a void, we've just missed so much is getting out to shows and seeing you all and seeing the media. And talking to you and showcasing what our clients do. It's one of our favourite parts of our job, and it's one of the things we've missed the most, which is why we launched the Honest Media Show and how this all came about. So it's in the absence of us all being able to meet at physical shows, we wanted to find a way to bring together garden, home, lifestyle media with the gardening brands that we work with. So today's event is all designed to be a whistle-stop tour to let you meet some of the clients we work with, get a taste of the exciting things they've got going on, and find out as well about how you can work with them. So the whole thing, we want to be keeping it really brief, so you're not sat in front of your screens for too long. Before I introduce the clients though, I just want to introduce the Honest team to you. We're all on hand all the time, whenever you need anything, so the guys are here. So for those that don't know and the new faces that have joined us today, I'm Holly Dolby and I founded Honest just over 2 years ago now. Alongside me at Honest, we've got our account managers, Faye and Rosie, who are the two that you're probably more familiar with by now. We've also got Leanne and then Sophie, who started with us this morning. She's an hour into her new job and this is how we're kicking off for her. And then we've got Beth joining us in a few weeks as well. So today's lineup, we're going to kick things off shortly with Michael and Ellen from the Plant-Based Podcast. Then we're heading over to Patty from Ello in Holland. And then Lucy from She Grows Veg is going to be telling us all about her career from jewellery designer to garden author. And then we've got Peter and John from Cobra, who will be introducing the latest from the powered garden machinery world. And then we've got Emily and Anna from Seedboard telling us everything that's going on over there. And then finally, Richard Jackson is going to be showcasing the star products from the Richard Jackson garden range. And he's also going to be talking to us about the Plantsmith range of houseplant care that recently launched. So that's enough from me. Let's get started. I'm going to hand over to our first guests. Here are Michael and Ellen from the Plant-Based Podcast. Enjoy the show.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Holly. It's lovely to see so many horticultural faces first thing on a Monday morning and at the start of National Gardening Week. Yay! The only thing is I can notice so many flowers and plants behind a few of you. I've got like the worst background and I'm about to tell you that I'm a complete plant addict and I've chosen the one place in the house where there's not like a million plants. So anyway.
Ellen, you're such a failure.
Yeah, I've failed already. It's Monday morning. Come on, you know I'm good in the mornings. So those of you who don't know, my name's Ellen Mary and I co-host the Plant-Based Podcast with Michael, and we're going to just run through some points about the podcast, how we got into gardening, how the podcast started, how it's going, all kinds of things like that. So just to start with, my background is basically I've been a plant addict ever since it was before it was cool, basically, when I was very little. But in school, I can always remember my careers teacher asking me what I wanted to do. And I said to her, well, I love plants. And she looked at me blankly, kind of flicked through a careers book and went, well, you could be a teacher or a nurse, and could completely ignore the fact that I love plants. So I had no idea horticulture was such an amazing industry, and I ended up working in HR. And I think the skills working in HR have been immensely beneficial, but it wasn't very long where I realized that life's way too short to not be doing something you're very passionate about, and that was plants. So I took my qualifications with the RHS and then took the step into horticulture and really never looked back. So that's where it all comes from. My whole family have loved gardening, so I think it runs in the blood. So what about you, Michael?
Well, very, very similar start to you, Ellen, because of course, when I was a kid, I was ashamed of loving plants. You know, when all the cool kids were, I don't know, interested in football or the latest jackets, I was growing and selling plants, you know, in secret at the weekends, and kind of, I was a member of the WI market. I think I was the first male member in the Ipswich branch. But yeah, I just loved plants and being around them, and also using them in a business way, like making money from them as well. I was quite interested in, you know, I know that sounds a little bit kind of brash, but that's, you know, that's why we're all here at the end of the day. So I was obviously gardening in secret. I went to college for a couple of years, did a national diploma in horticulture. And then, some of you may know the story already, I entered a competition in the local newspaper to design a garden at Thompson & Morgan, who were the biggest mail order plant company in the UK. And I put together a design that was filled with plants from the Suffolk area. And I won the competition. And in those days, we were writing letters. So I wrote a letter, asked for a job, and there you go. I had an 18-year career history at Thompson & Morgan, introducing plants, kind of being pushed into media side of stuff and a little bit of TV here and there. And I've been freelance now for about probably almost 5 years. And I've got what I always wanted to have, which was a mixed portfolio of work. And I feel I was an early adopter of social media as well. So I've been able to kind of come on that journey and be an influencer in some way, but an influencer with substance. And I think that's where the difference is. And obviously lots of different projects, one of which is here, the Plant-Based Podcast.
And actually it was kind of just at the very end of your time with Thompson & Morgan that we first met. So I set up a gardening club called No Fear Gardening in Norwich. And some mutual friends of ours were running an app called Garden Tags. And they came along to do a talk, and they said, oh, you know, our mate Michael, he'll come along, he's going to do a talk as well. And so I looked Michael up on social media, and I just thought, oh, who is this guy? Oh my gosh, really? He sounds like someone I am not going to get on with. And anyway, he walked in the room and we literally hit it off immediately. And we've kind of been friends and work pals. I call him my plant husband ever since, basically. But that's how it all started when I came to visit you at the Thompson & Morgan show garden.
Absolutely, yeah. But we'll talk about it more in a moment, but we just got a very good dynamic, and we're both coming from the same direction when it comes to, you know, dealing with, you know, business things as well. So yeah, it's good. Very good.
I just don't take my clothes off as much. So yeah, that's how we know each other basically. And then the podcast, where did that all start?
Yeah, so I don't remember. It's really hard to trace these things back sometimes, but I think we obviously both had a passion for plants. Podcasts were becoming more popular at that stage, obviously not to the level that it is now. And we called it the Plant-Based Podcast, which is in some ways quite a misleading name, but actually it kind of means plant-based, not in terms of just plant diets or, you know, materials made of plants, but it's also for people that are obsessed by plants. So we're obviously talking to nurseries, garden centers, you know, getting behind the scenes with breeders as well. And I think if any of you have listened to the podcast, you'll find that it's a really nice kind of relaxed balance, because like Ellen and I like to be able to put people at ease. We don't ever want to be too serious, but we kind of know the line where, you know, you can be a little bit informal, but you still got to be knowledgeable and pass across that knowledge. And so we've been able to interview some great people that, you know, and we've kind of brought them through in a really different way and kind of in a relaxed way. And we've even dealt with some really, you know, heavy subjects, but managed to do that in a really relaxed manner. And I'm really proud of the balance that we've got there. And the podcast has obviously evolved from series to series. And we're now gearing up for series 5, which is incredible. Never imagined we'd get that far.
No, I know, it is mad. Like we didn't really know where we were going with it in the beginning. We just wanted to talk about plants and kind of spread the love of plants, and then ending up kind of like speaking with people like Chris Packham and Liz Earle and all of those has been really quite amazing. And we've had some awesome feedback about the podcast, and it blows our minds every time. I know it sounds silly, but every time someone posts something on social media saying, oh, I just listened to a plant-based podcast, or you've inspired me to do this or to plant that or to check that company out, it always blows our mind. You know, we have now over 170,000 unique downloads, and we're only in series 4, so that's pretty epic, that's for sure. And I think during lockdown especially, we noticed an increase because people are at home, maybe they have more time, but also of course people are more interested in gardening and plants and getting out in nature. And I think plant-based podcasts had already, you know, laid a basis there. We had a good following, we have lots of downloads, we've been up in the charts, we've been at #1 in Apple Podcast home and garden charts a couple of times now. Most recently, it was just last week. We like to shout about it. I don't know if you noticed, but we do like to shout about these things because that helps with feedback, it helps with more listenership, but it also helps to bring people into horticulture and gardening and learn that it's actually fun, it's interesting, it can be educational, but it doesn't always have to be super, super serious as well.
I feel we're both like really against any of that plant snobbishness and the kind of weird hierarchy that we tend to have in the horticultural realm sometimes. So we're both kind of always trying to break that down. And, you know, prime example is geranium versus pelargonium. Does it really matter what you call it? I just want you to grow it and engage with the plant. So kind of we get hung up on the wrong small things sometimes.
Yeah, bring on the geraniums.
Oh, I know. But how's it developed? Now on at the moment, it's kind of developed organically, and I think Ellen and I are very good at kind of being reactive. Sometimes you can put a plan in place and be really rigid and follow that plan when actually the market's moved in a different direction and you maybe need to react to that. So with series 4, we actually opened up the podcast in I guess in quite a clever way, because now we've got different contributors in each episode. So we've got a foraging couple called Forage and Folklore. We've got Jerry and Katie, who are a cooking couple as well. We've also got houseplant tips. We're also now doing an in-between episode in order to do weekly episodes, which are good for keeping you up the charts, which is a news episode. And I don't think anything exists like that in podcasts for, you know, gardening podcasts, because we read out the news. So we take about 10 stories each time, and then we discuss it afterwards in our kind of trademark, you know, informal kind of but formal way. So, and it's been quite fun. And obviously that is going to develop, and we'll do even more for series 5 and potentially even some video stuff as well. Isn't that right, Ellen?
Absolutely. I think that's an extension of what we've done, plant-based podcast TV as well, because any way to get the news about gardening out there and to spread the love and just educate people and have some fun really is what it's all about, isn't it? Also, must just mention our sponsors for series 4, which are Cobra, are also here. Hello. So hi Cobra, and thanks so much. So that's another thing about, I think, our podcast. We do lots of competitions, we do work with companies, you know, great sponsors, and that really does help to boost the ratings, get the word out there. And I know that there's a lot of podcasts out there at the moment, but ours does stand out because we're always trying to be one step ahead. You know, we're always trying to do something different, look for new and exciting people to talk to, working with new companies. You know, we're just constantly brainstorming, and we literally WhatsApp each other a million times a day, and there's always new ideas. And like Michael's the creative one, and then I'm like, can we do that? Let's just think about that one. Let's just see if we can put that into practice one. But Michael, what's your favorite one that's come up so far, the favorite podcast we've recorded so far?
I don't know, because they're so different. And, you know, just to echo what you just said, I think we're always trying to think outside the box. And, you know, we don't want to be interviewing the same people that other people have, but we're not necessarily avoiding that. But actually, we're always interested in getting people from different sectors, you know, ones that you haven't imagined before. So that's where I think the podcast has got its strength, you know, because we've talked about plant materials, you know, obviously diets, you know, controversial issues as well. What would be my favorite? Well, it's always the most recent in a way. We interviewed Nelofer Hedayat, which was really interesting because she's been involved in the Traffickers series. We talked about plant trafficking and lots of really interesting things. And so that was pretty good. But that was also in some ways linked to one that we did with Lalage Snow as well, who's actually been visiting lots of gardens and gardeners and spoken to horticulturalists in war-torn countries as well. So that was another really special one. I don't know, they're all special in their own little way, to be honest, Ellen.
Yeah,
do you have a favourite?
No, unlike you, I always like the last one. Like, I really enjoyed meeting Chris Packham because I mean, he's just an absolute star to me. And talking of dream guests very quickly, if anyone can get David Attenborough on, I will literally love you forever, because I can't give him a hug now. He wouldn't let me. Maybe he never would let me, but I would literally hug him really tightly. So if we could get David Attenborough on, anyone make that happen, that would be great. And also Dame Jane Goodall, I'd love to have her on as well. So I
think it would be nice, Ellen, to have Jerry Halliwell from the Spice Girls.
Well, yeah, I was then going to say,
showing how diverse the podcast really is.
We've got some great guests coming up, haven't we, in this series? We've got Nikki Chapman coming up, and we were talking about the Spice Girls. So this podcast jumps from one person to another, from Spice Girls to plant trafficking, but it's all to do with plants at the end of the day. So that's the most important thing. Yeah,
and also coming up with something that we do from time to time, we've got a special episodes. So we've actually got begonias with Benary coming up this weekend, which is talking to the breeders, getting behind the scenes. So that's really interesting. Also this episode, this series, we've got Lynn Ferguson coming up. She's a comedian that moved to California and now grows vegetables in hay bales. So we're really trying to think outside the box with a lot of the interviews that we do, and obviously fully supported by Honest Communications to help us doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Honest. How much longer have we got? Can we carry on? Because we could talk for absolutely ages.
I was about to say, on that note, actually, I need to kind of, move in. No, thanks, guys. That's great. Really good sort of overview of where the podcast has come from, and and kind of the all-encompassing side to it all.
Oh, can I just say, sorry, Holly, I must just say that actually there's a few people on here that have also been guests on the podcast. Steve Ball, Emily and Anna there have been guests in our first series, and it was awesome to go and see how it's all made. So thank you so much, and for always supporting us. And more recently we had Lucy, She Grows Veg. She's literally a star, and she was on the podcast, and it was awesome to chat with her about the benefits and downfalls of social media and how it's benefited Lucy.
I think that in particular, that episode really resonated with a lot of our followers as well, because we like to talk really honestly about stuff, and we were really honest about social media and how you feel about it. And so I think that's where we stand out, and we're happy to continue to do that. And really proud of what we've created.
Well, I've just got one question. I was wondering about what's kind of been the biggest learning you've had about making a podcast and that sort of journey that you've been on with it. The biggest thing.
It's the technical side for me. No, I just don't like it.
Really, but the thing is, perhaps I'm not cruel, but it's just I tend to leave Ellen to all the technical stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realise you found it so difficult.
That's it, really.
But you know what? Added to that, you can. I mean, sometimes you imagine, let's start a podcast. Do I need a studio? Do I need soundproofing? Do I need a big microphone? You don't necessarily. Plenty of our podcasts are just, recorded like this on the phone. That's it. And, you don't always need massive setups to get going with something. So I think a lot of people procrastinate too much about starting stuff. But, Ellen and I, we start stuff before we even know we're going to start it sometimes. It carries away with it. But I think it's always better to start something than it is to sit around thinking about starting it. So,
and I think that does put people off doing podcasts, but that's been interesting with lockdown, with helping you guys set up the interviews. Originally, when we were in series 1 and 2, they were all in-person interviews, and it kind of restricted arrangements or the access to guests we could get. But now you're doing them all on Zoom. Like, it opens up so many doors, and
opened up
like Lynn in LA. Yeah. So
perfect. Thank you.
So next up we have Lucy. who you may know better as She Grows Veg. In just a matter of years, Lucy's grown her Instagram to almost 120,000 followers.
Yeah, getting there.
Brilliant. Yeah, and her first ever book is coming out this week. So there's a lot to hear from Lucy about. So I shall hand over to her.
Okay, hello everybody. I will just share my screen with you if I can, and hopefully if I can make it work. Okay. There we go. Right. So I'll just start with a little introduction to who I am, just in case you're wondering, who is this girl sitting in front of me and why is she talking to me? I used to have a very, very different career. I used to be a couture jewelry designer, and I had an eponymous label making jewelry like this. So you can see it's not understated. And I was very lucky. I got to sell to some of the best luxury stores in the world, department stores and boutiques. I had great support from the press and got to do all sorts of exciting things and worked with fabulous celebrities like Kylie and Cheryl Cole, and dressed them for various things. Now, it was undeniably an incredible experience, but I came to a turning point with the company and had to either get investors in and turn it into a big brand, or I was going to have to walk away. And being really completely honest with myself, I just hadn't been happy for a really long time. I think fashion industry probably wasn't a natural fit for a girl that grew up kind of climbing trees with scabby knees in the countryside. So I had, there was a gap, there were a few years in between where I did various different things, including have some children and stuff. But through my whole life, through my student days, through my fashion career, I always grew some food. I didn't really know specifically what I was doing, and I had no interest in anything ornamental. It had to be something that gave an edible crop in some way, but I just found it really inspiring. It just made me really happy. So at the end of 2018, I was going through a really stressful period, and it was to growing that I turned, and at the same time set up an Instagram account just to connect with people online and share what I was doing, and just join what is a really fantastic and engaged community on there. I didn't really have any agenda whatsoever, though I decided to retrain in horticulture as a career, which I started doing. But the Instagram account really took off, and this is where we now find ourselves. So yes, most people know me as She Grows Veg, not Lucy. So it has been quite a whirlwind year so far already, and it looks like it's only going to continue to become more so. So I want to share just a few of the really exciting things that I've got going on at the moment. Starting with, obviously, the launch of my first book, Get Up and Grow, through Hardy Grant Publishing. Now, when Hardy Grant came to me and asked if I would like to write a book, first of all, I asked if, are they absolutely sure they wanted me to do that? But second of all, I said, I want to write a grow your own book for people that are not necessarily into gardening, because I feel that there are a huge number of people out there that really, really care about food. They care about their health, and they care about the environment and what they put into their bodies and what impact that has on the planet. But if you asked a lot of those people, are you into gardening? I suspect a lot of them would say, no, I'm not into gardening. It's not for me. But if you said, would you be interested in growing some of your food? I think they would find that very interesting. So it was for them that I wanted to write a book. There are a lot of grow your own books out there, and they have a very kind of traditional vibe to them, and that's fantastic. But I think that that doesn't necessarily connect with a whole section of society. So it was them that I wanted to particularly target with this book. So with that in mind, there's a real accent on small space growing in the book, but not kind of crops in pots, which is always how it seems to be approached in every other book. It was to approach it in a really high design way, with aesthetics being as important as the harvests. The book contains a whole set of projects that are achievable. They've all got kind of a difficulty level, from really easy to more challenging. But all of them are really beautiful to have in the home. There is something in there, though, for everyone. having said what I said about who I was targeting. So there's things in there that will inspire even the most experienced gardener with a big garden about ways that you can utilize space and new ways that you can approach growing food. So just a few projects in here just to give you a sample of the kind of thing that's in there. This is the hanging window herb garden. So this kind of thing, this is a really easy to achieve one. Each project has a little introduction as to what it is and why you would want to do it. And then step-by-step instructions. So this is how to create a hanging kokedama citrus orchard. So you can see that the aesthetics and the design and the beauty of the project is as important as the fact that it's going to bear fruit, literally in this case. There is even an Eat Your Houseplants chapter for the houseplant tribe, showing that, first of all, quite a lot of commonly grown houseplants are in fact edible and people don't necessarily know it, or suggesting edible alternatives to some of the most loved common houseplants that you get. So following on from the book, I was really honoured to be asked by the RHS to design an edible allotment garden for RHS Hampton Court Flower Festival. So I'm creating the garden in partnership with Perrywood Garden Centres. They are providing the plants and the hard landscaping for the garden. And it's basically a fully edible garden that's the idea was to show just how much you can grow in a small space and how beautiful that can be. So the garden will be right slap bang in the middle of the grow your own area, which the RHS has really grown for this year because of the explosion in popularity of grow your own through lockdown. They've really embraced the area. So rather than just being a kind of small add-on area, it's a huge part of the show this year. So I'm really excited to be part of that. And the garden will actually include a number of projects from the book. So it's called the Get Up and Grow Garden. And they'll be restyled to fit with the theme of the garden. And I'll also be speaking there on the allotment stage and cooking with my partner, who is a chef, doing cooking demos and book signings. So basically, I'm going to be living at the Hampton Court Flower Show for about 2 weeks. So these are just some designs to give you a little taster of what's coming. This is a plan view that I started with. So this is a real tropical vibe to it as well. So there's bananas and colocasia mixed with more traditional vegetables like cabbages and things. And here you can see how the projects from the book are integrated within the garden. So you've got the kind of greenhouse cupboards. One will be styled up to be kind of propagation style, and one will be kind of more traditional greenhouse style with peppers and tomatoes and things. And you've got kokedama balls on stands up above the planted borders and hanging pot projects and things on the arch. So there's a lot going on in the one garden. And as you can see, this drawing was done for me by Plan for Plants as an artist impression, but you can see it's an absolute riot of colour. There's colours are a really key theme. It is across the whole show. So there'll be everything from giant sunflowers and neon chard and loads of flowers and coloured tomatoes and all sorts of things going on. So really excited about that. And then just at the end, there's another project that I've been working on with the Bourne and Hollingsworth buildings in Clerkenwell in London. So Bourne and Hollingsworth buildings, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is a very botanical restaurant. But it's been very much the houseplant vibe. So they've had a lot of houseplants through it, and it's themed like a greenhouse. Now we've been working together to turn half the bar and restaurant into a living bar. So the idea is that the garden will grow all the herbs, botanicals, flowers, and some vegetables to serve the cocktail bar, and hopefully the kitchen as well, if we can grow enough. So I've designed a bespoke hydroponic micro farm that's going to get installed within the walls, and this will all be in amongst the dining area, so people will sit and eat and drink amongst the plants that we're growing in all these different ways. So we got the installation for that at the beginning of May, and the soft launch second half of May, and then hopefully, COVID allowing, public launch will be happening there from kind of June onwards. So that is just a little taste of the many things that I've been doing recently. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, or if you want any more information generally, hit up Holly and Faye for everything they've got.
Brilliant, thank you, Lucy. I can't. I'm really excited to see that Hampton Court, yeah, the garden. When you sent the images through of what it's going to look like, we're really excited here.
Yeah, right. I'm a little bit challenged, terrified about making it happen, but I'm sure we'll be fine.
That's kind of, yeah, what I wanted to ask you really, of just how do you do it all? Like, there's even just keeping on top of the Instagram account must be enough, but then you're doing everything else. You're doing all these separate projects, and you're gardening too. You've got to actually keep everything growing. Yeah, how do you juggle it all?
I don't stop ever at the moment. I could really do with a holiday, I think. But yeah, I think this year has just been so incredible already, and with all these amazing projects that I've had the opportunity to work on, I want to embrace all of it. So yeah, I'm really terrible at saying no. Which I should probably get better at, but yeah, they're all things that I'm so passionate about, and really embracing things that I think are really important, you know, moving away from that traditional, you have to grow in a garden, you have to grow in an allotment, and showing that you can grow food anywhere, and there's technology and equipment and all sorts of tools available to you to break all the rules that we've always been told that we have to follow as vegetable gardeners. And the rules don't really apply anymore, so I'm enjoying the opportunity to break them all, basically.
How do you think the response has been to that breaking the rules thing? Because there is still that sort of stereotypical traditional gardener out there, but you're part of this movement of the changing face of gardening. Do you think that is shifting?
I think there is, and I think it's a big way to draw in a whole new crowd into horticulture, because I think the people that are already in there are going to be doing it anyway. What my experience is, it's like, for example, with the Bourne and Hollingsworth project, it's that kind of thing. You know, they're not vegetable gardeners. The whole clientele they're not interested in that allotment vibe, but they are really excited about growing edibles inside. And breaking all those rules. And I think it's a fantastic way to engage people and bring them into gardening. And inevitably, I think there's a progression from growing food into then having a wider interest in gardening. It's a really easy access point, because everyone eats and everyone can get excited about food. So you start by growing something edible, and then you see a plant that you're really into, or flowers that you like, and it naturally leads you deeper into the world of gardening. But I just think it's a fantastic way to really grab a new audience, and I think they're really out there, and they're just starting to be engaged with by the horticultural industry.
Yeah, and I think that's true of kind of all the aesthetic side of what you do as well. It's not just about the gardening, is it? It's kind of, that's why you're so focused on all your posts looking amazing and being the best shot you can get, because it is those people, it's how you grab them and then bring them in from there. Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant, great. Okay, well, thank you very much for that, and we shall move on to the next speaker.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. Cool. So next we're heading into the garden machinery world, which we are joined by the team from Cobra. So Cobra has the largest range of powered garden machinery. It's got everything from mowers, trimmers, hedge trimmers, blowers, everything in between. And they're regularly bringing out new products to market, which certainly keeps us busy. And there's always product samples available for the press if anyone needs anything. So to find out the latest from them, we've got a little video that I'm just going to share with you now.
Hello and a very warm welcome from Cobra. I'm Peter Chandler and I'd like to thank you for finding the time to join us today. We've had a really busy 12 months and we're launching even more products that are designed to make gardening more enjoyable and accessible to everyone. We're focused on developing our environmentally friendly cordless products. We are committed to battery technology, and the products we're highlighting today are all lithium-ion powered. Today, we're delighted to be launching our flagship 51cm mower, which powers the drive to a still roller for a traditional striped lawn. Our good friend Martin Fish, BBC gardening broadcaster, will explain a little more about this and other developments from Cobra. I would now like to hand over to Martin, and then we'll be back to answer any questions you may have. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Peter. Today I'd like to introduce the new 80-volt cordless range of lawn mowers from Cobra, which are powered by twin 40-volt lithium-ion batteries, delivering an impressive 80 volts of pure cut-in power. Cobra has the UK's largest range of powered lawn mowers, and it's constantly expanding the range and developing products to further its position as the expert in the lawn care market. The 80-volt range is the latest extension of this, with 3 models packed with innovative features and technologies while championing the message of environmentally friendly green power. Okay, let's take a look at the first of the new mowers, which is the Cobra MX51 S80V with a 3-in-1 cut-in system. Hello, my name's Martin Fish and I'd just like to show you this new mower as part of the Cobra range. This one is powered by twin 40-volt batteries. It's a rotary mower with a 21-inch cut, and it's what we call a 3-in-1. So it will collect, it will mulch, and it will side discharge. So let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. So let's start with the power pack, which is under here. If we lift this flap, we can see we've got 2 40-volt 5 amp-hour batteries here, which power the 80-volt brushless motor. So lots of power there. Both of these come with a fast charger, so you can charge them independently. And they're really quick to release. It's just a case of pushing the little red tab there, and they're spring loaded and out they pop. So that's how you take them out for charging. They only go in one way, so we just push them down until they click firmly in place. Just to check that they are fully charged, there's a little green button there that we push, and we can see that in this case it is, because we've got all 4 green lights indicated, and each battery has one of those buttons on it. We've also got one of the safety features of this mower, which is this key here, a little red plastic key that has to go into the slot, and you have to put that into the on position before you can start the mower, and that's a really good safety feature. It stops any children or anybody starting the mower accidentally if you take that out and keep it somewhere safe when you're not mowing. So that's the battery compartment. The height of cut is controlled from this one single lever here, so we've got 7 different positions giving us a high range of cuts from 25mm up to 75 or anywhere in between, all done with the one lever there. And then we've also got the 3-in-1, and that is really good. This is one method, so we can collect the grass in this 60-litre grass box here that just simply hooks onto the back there, and we empty it when it's full. The grass collection box has got an indicator on it to tell us when it's full. So when it's flapping, it means that it's still collecting grass, but when it stops, it's full and time to empty. If you don't want to collect, you can mulch, and the mower comes complete with this mulch plug here, which simply fits into the back of the mower there, and it locks into position. So we just push that in. Again, it will only go one way, and then we can put the flap down. And what happens in this situation is the grass is cut with the rotary mower, and instead of being thrown out into the grass bag, it just goes round and round and is chopped really finely by the blades, and then it's blown down into the cover of the grass, and that helps to feed the lawn. It supplies nitrogen to the grass, makes it stay nice and green, and you don't have all the grass clippings to deal with. And the third way to mow is side discharge, and again we get this little cover here. We need to leave the mulch plug in position. We lift the flap there, and it just goes underneath that little steel pin, and then that holds it into position. And this is ideal if you've got some longer grass that you need to cut. It's too long to mulch, or it's too long to collect in the grass bag, so it throws it out the side there and makes life much easier for you. So when we finish with it, we just simply lift that, take it off, and we're now back to a mulch mower. Another feature of this mower is the integrated fan underneath here. We've got this white fan just above the blade, and as that whizzes round, it gives more draft and blows the grass back into the collection bag, so you get a really good pickup on the lawn. On the handles we've got 2 quick release levers here, which makes it so that you can adjust this to the height you want for comfortable mowing, or alternatively you can fold the handle away for storage. So just lock those into position really quickly, and then the controls are all operated from the top here. Very, very simple. Firstly, we've got another battery indicator just here. We just push the button there and we can see we've got green illuminated lights on both of the batteries, which tells us that it is fully charged. To start the mower, we've got various safety features. We have to depress this button here, the red button, and then we've got to depress one of these levers on the underside here. It doesn't matter which one. That will then start the blades rotating, and once they're rotating we can push in the black lever at the back, and that self-propels the mower, so you don't have to push it, it does all the work for you. So let's start it. A little tip before we do start with any mower is just to lift the blades off the ground a little bit, so it's a case of push that, one of the grey buttons, and away we go. This lever in and we can mow. There, it really is very easy to use. We just release the lever to stop the self-propulsion, and as soon as we let go of these buttons on the underside, then that cuts the power to the motor and the blades instantly stop. So very easy to use. The large wheels at the back makes it very easy to manoeuvre around corners as well, and it makes a good job of collecting, mulching or side discharging. And remember, with this mower that's got the twin 40-volt batteries in there, they can be used in other 40-volt models in the Cobra range as well, so they are transferable. So overall it's a great mower, ideal for larger lawns. Next, let's have a look in a bit more detail at the Cobra RM51 SP80V with a rear roller for a traditional striped finish. All the controls are here at the top of the handles, and it's very easy to operate. So quickly I'll just run through them for you. First of all, we've got another battery indicator, so we don't have to look down under the flap every time. There's a little button there and we push it, and that shows us the state of charge of both batteries, so we can tell if one is getting low. And it's also got another safety button just here. That has to be depressed before we can start the motor and the blades turning, and that can also be taken out as well as an additional safety feature. The two handles we've got here, we've got the red one, we have to pull that one back in order to start the blades turning, and then when we've got those turning we can use this lever here which powers the mower forward. So it's really simple. So the procedure is for starting, and a little tip is always tilt the mower back so we're lifting the blades slightly off the ground. We push the red button with one hand and then we pull back the lever, and that will start the motor off, and then away we go. To stop the mower, we just simply release the red lever and everything stops. And as you can see, it makes a lovely job of the lawn and we get that really clear stripe. Grass clippings are collected in this 70-litre bag at the back, which just simply hooks on and off there for emptying. And there we can see underneath we've got the steel roller that just gives it that little bit of weight and creates that really, really pronounced stripe. To blow the grass in there, this has got an integrated fan. If I just lift the mowing deck up, you can see that underneath there at the back of the blade there's a white fan, and that creates a really strong draft that blows the grass clippings in, so you get good collection even if the grass is a little bit damp. So it really is good in that respect. Once you've finished mowing with it, then for storage, if storage is a little bit tight, then it's just simply a case of loosening off the handles there. It's got these reinforced handles for added strength. They just slacken off, and then this handlebar will just fold down, and it just takes up a little bit less room. And then when you're ready to mow again, it's just a case of putting the handlebars back into position and tightening them up, and you are ready to mow again. So there we have it. We've got this twin battery mower. It's really powerful, makes a really good job of mowing the lawn. It's easy to use, and you get that wonderful stripe. And the added advantage is that the twin batteries in here, the 40-volt batteries, are compatible with other products in the Cobra range. In addition, there's also a smaller 17-inch model with a rear roller being introduced into the range, and an Airmo hover mower powered by the same twin 40-volt battery system. Now, for those without the time to mow their lawn, the Cobra Mowbot is an excellent solution. This automatic robotic lawnmower will trim an entire lawn quietly and effortlessly, and is the perfect eco-friendly mowing solution for almost any lawn. Developed with convenience in mind, the Mowbot range offers Bluetooth connectivity, a range of attractive cover styles, cut-in from 800 to 1200 square metres, and complete user interaction with your smartphone or tablet. Cobra are also expanding their 24-volt lithium-ion battery system in 2021, which is ideal for gardeners looking to kit out their sheds with a selection of gardening tools that are easy to use, safe to store, and importantly, kind to the environment. The rechargeable battery can be interchanged across all products in the range, including the new 24-volt pressure washer, blower and chainsaw, making it the perfect collection of products for people who want ease of use, a space-saving option and an eco-friendly alternative. Thank you for watching our showcase of some of the exciting new cordless products in the Cobra range, and I'd like now to pass back to Peter Challoner, Managing Director of Cobra, who will happily take any questions that you've got. Over to you, Peter.
Lots going on from Cobra, as ever. Always lots of new things coming through. So one of the questions I wanted to ask Peter was, kind of focused a lot here on all the new cordless stuff, and that's obviously a core focus for Cobra going forward. Do you think that's been accepted now? Because initially when we launched the Cobra range, there's a lot of skepticism from gardeners of it's not got the power, it doesn't do the job, a lot of questions around charging times. Do you think that's now being accepted more so?
Yes, I think so, definitely, Holly, indeed. Yeah, we're seeing really with the three platforms of battery technology that we've got, that actually we've got something for every market, really. So we've got a 24-volt system, and then the 40-volt, and now launching this year is the twin 40-volt battery system as well for those larger gardens needing a little bit more runtime. So we've got an option for everyone really now, indeed, yeah. So that's really been our mission, really, is to sort of try and help every garden, really. Accessibility for everyone is key for us with the battery technology. So yeah, and we're still working behind the scenes. There's lots going on in terms of new battery technology. We're going to try and incorporate that over the next couple of years as well. Lots of exciting developments, really, yeah. Great.
And with the Cobra range is so vast, is that like why is it important for you to be able to offer something for everybody? Kind of in terms of the range of products and kind of the scope of the cutting widths and things varying so broadly too.
That's an interesting point, that is. To be quite honest with you, a lot of our competitors do say to us, why do you have so many lawnmowers? I think we're up to about 55 different lawnmowers, yeah. And that number is still growing. It is very much something for everyone. That's the key. We service a lot of specialist dealers. Specialist dealers have their own particular requirements as well. So we look after the dealers that way, and they have particular requirements. So we try to look after them as well, really. Yeah. So, but yeah, in essence, the different and the range just grows every year. Really. That's our main thrust for development. Really, is just expanding that and looking for new areas we can help the gardener, really.
Yeah, and have you noticed that across the last year with everyone talking about new gardeners and everyone's discovering it, and there's these lockdown gardeners? Has that come through in the machinery side and sales?
Absolutely. I mean, 2020 was a crazy year, and similarly this year started pretty much the same, really. So yes, yeah, really busy, and people are more and more interested in gardening for sure, and willing to spend on the gardens as well, really. Yeah, so they're investing in the right equipment. We're seeing cordless sales are really growing fast as people switch away, thinking about the broader environmental issues, really. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Has there been sort of sales spikes on like the smaller mowers for people with smaller gardens, if suddenly interested?
Yeah, for us, and this is still an area we're developing the range, is sort of on the 24-volt battery technology is actually cordless technology for the smaller garden, really. There's obviously electric machines, but people like the convenience of cordless as well. So it's really bringing those two together. So yeah, there's been growth across all sectors, I'll be honest with you, but particularly for the future, we see that that's a really important area to grow in as well. And the robotic lawnmower side as well is really exciting for us. I think, as we sort of touched on the video, the beauty of the robotic lawnmower is that little and frequent mowing is the best thing for the environment as well, where you're putting back, as it's in essence the ideal mulching type system, really, because it's cutting frequently and putting back the grass cutting, so it reduces the impact of drought conditions as well, and it's less strain on the actual grass as well, really. So it really keeps it greener for longer as well. So robotic lawnmowers and the Mobot are really the future as well, really. Yeah.
Brilliant. Great, thank you very much. We shall move on to the next one because I'm wary of time now as well. But just to say to everybody too, we're going to be putting all the videos and presentations from today, in case there were some glitches and things, we'll be uploading them all and sending out access to, so everybody can catch up on things later if they didn't catch everything. So next up, we're really pleased to be joined by Seed Ball.
Hello. Oh, are we unmuted?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so Emily and Anna at Seed Ball, incredibly passionate about boosting biodiversity and have got big plans for increasing the abundance of British wildflowers. They've got their innovative seed balls, make it super easy for anyone to create wildlife havens. And yeah, so the guys are here to talk about their recent projects and all their initiatives that they've got going on. So I shall.
Yay. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah,
Holly.
thanks, Holly.
So I'm Anna.
I'm Emily.
And we are the founders of Seed Ball.
We're snotty.
We have colds. Yeah, so apologising for the dodgy voices. But yeah, this is original thing here to show you of Seed Ball. So we launched Seed Ball about 8 years ago now. What we are is semi-reformed academics, I suppose. So we were doing our PhDs before in conservation.
Yeah, so I was working on climate change impacts on species distributions, and you were working on yeah, it's really cool.
I was past my PhD, so my PhD was on how you inspire people to really make a difference in the world, and how you create that positive behaviour change in communities to create a global change. And then after that, I worked with DEFRA on their policies related to bees and environment and national parks. And, you know, in the meantime of that, as a kind of escape for us, we sort of started getting into gardening.
We're terrible at it.
Yeah. So we realized that we were really bad at gardening, which was not good, because we were like, oh, you know, if we could just fill our gardens with wildflowers, like you literally could really make a huge difference in the world. That's my research was looking at that. Our gardens are an area that's larger than all of the national nature reserves combined. And that's not taking into account hanging baskets and window boxes and balcony pots and, you know, all of these funky systems actually that you guys are talking about today. We could really save the world. So we started Seed Ball with a huge passion to
have impact.
Yeah,
so
have practical conservation impact.
Yeah. And we just want to have some massive impact on yeah, the abundance of wildflowers, like Holly was saying. It's all about having impact on the number of people growing wildflowers.
And we wanted to change people's behaviour. So we wanted people to kind of not just look at wildflowers as weeds, but to see them how we saw them, as this absolutely, you know, beautiful, almost fireworks display that you get in your garden that not only is beautiful to look at, but brings the buzz of the bees. You know, what is a garden if it doesn't have the sound of all the insects and wildlife within it? So
and they're like massively important for the whole ecosystem of kind of your local, your garden wildlife.
yeah, exactly. Butterflies are like flying flowers anyway. So,
so I think we almost see ourselves like a conservation organisation in our heads, even though what we're essentially doing is although actually our company is we're a community interest company, so we're actually a non-profit. So our ultimate goal is through kind of inspiring people and selling more seed balls is actually to reinvest the money that we make into local conservation projects that are involved in wildflowers and wildlife in general.
And our goal was to disrupt the gardening industry. So not just from a behaviour and a conservation perspective, but also from, you know, could we have a product that sits along plants, that sits in between seeds, that's easier to grow than seeds, and you don't need that skill like we don't have, but it's not perhaps as expensive as a plant. So we wanted to bring something that could like literally wham, be on the shelf in in garden centres.
And just change people's behaviour, change people's attitudes, and when they look outside of their garden spaces, they just kind of, we wanted people to help people look at it in a different way, that they think about wildlife instead of thinking about wildlife as well. So we wanted to massively inspire people, and the way that we've kind of gone about doing that is with seed balls. So our experience before was scattering wildflower seed and nothing grew. We were scattering, we're like, we're scattering, but nothing's really happening. So we came across, so I'm going to share our screen actually to show you, we've got a few slides just to show you, oh gosh, here we go.
That one.
Sorry, we're so technical.
Even when we're in academia, we still couldn't get PowerPoint to work.
No. My little button's gone.
Just press play.
Okay. So just a little bit. So we're just sharing some interactions that we have on social media. Social media has been massive for us. We've kind of built our business. We've grown just organically as a company.
Yeah, because we didn't have that business acumen. We worked with our customers to basically spread word of mouth. And people like Ellen Mary and Michael, you know,
massively
help spread the word. Exactly. And also, you know, they got us into shops initially, and they helped us develop our mixes. So we've worked with people over time to kind of bring in new mixes and adapt what we've got.
Yeah, and this is essentially what it's all about. Everything that we're doing is about trying to get people juicy about what's going on in their gardens, and try and make sure those things that are happening in their gardens are really good for wildlife. So we have lots of love-ins on social media, and this is the kind of represents really nicely just how the way people feel when they experience our products.
Floral fireworks.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We're here admiring her. But yeah, and it's not just about obviously the wildflowers are absolutely massively beautiful. So part of what we're trying to do is also show people that growing for wildlife is totally beautiful, and as well as helping nature.
And it coincides with people, you know, liking this cottage garden look. So it's not too dissimilar if you put wildflowers within that. So it's not a million miles away.
And these are some photos that people have shared online, of just to show kind of pictures of the wildflowers as they've grown. And I love these ones because they kind of the red clover there all in
pots on a balcony.
So it's like really not about, we're trying to inspire people that are kind of, you know, you can be on a flat and just have like a little window box. And
you just need a small space. So it's helping people to realise it's the same thing. You know, you don't need to be a traditional gardener. You don't need to have a big garden. It can be in a hanging basket. I mean, the pot that's up there that's next to the sprouting seed ball is actually really small. It's about sort of 10 centimetres. I think it had like 1 or 2 balls in. So very small.
Yeah. So in terms of, oh, I'm going the wrong way. I'm really sorry. So in terms of actually what essentially is it that we're making? So we do all this we started by hand. Literally, we just get a big bucket and put all the different ingredients in and roll it ourselves. And now
lots of experiments to get the right recipe.
Yeah, lots of getting totally messy. And we now have we kind of like scaled the way we make it. So we still all make everything in house. We've got a unit near Finsbury Park. And we're now a team of about 15. There's about 15 of us in total that's kind of putting all this together. But essentially, we came across this from a permaculture training that we've done. And essentially it's a clay. Is that, can you see the screen? Does that make sense? Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. So essentially, seed ball is all about native wildflower seeds, and it's all sourced from suppliers in the UK, and it's all with wildflowers that are naturally distributed in this part of Europe as well. It's really important. So we mix wildflower seeds with clay, peat-free compost, and chili powder, and we let it all dry out. And essentially, what it creates is it's all about protecting the seeds.
It's its own mini ecosystem.
Yeah. So you scatter the seed ball, you just pop it on top of the soil. You don't need to dig it in, and the outer clay essentially prevents any birds or bugs or mice from coming along and eating the seeds before they're ready to grow. Which is why what tends to happen is you can scatter a packet of seed.
And they often get eaten by the birds.
And wildflower seeds are really slow to, they're a little bit slow to naturally germinate and get going anyway. So like giving it this extra protection, is really important. And then there's added chili powder in there as well. It's like a natural deterrent from slugs and snails eating the young little shoots. And it's all about, like, we love it in the sense that in itself it's something a little bit different, so it helps kind of people go, oh, this is really interesting. And then it also simplifies the process. So what we're all about, it's about non-intimidating gardening. We wanted a product that in itself
that anyone can pick up.
Yeah.
And not need the knowledge basically in gardening to make a beautiful garden.
Yeah. And this is what a little ball looks like when it starts to, so essentially when the ball's had enough water and it stays soaked for a little bit, the seeds inside will start to germinate and grow. And this is what they look like when they start to grow. And it's totally exciting. We're still really excited about it every time we see it. So this is just, we have been, so we've been going for about 8 years, and we've gone quite slowly in terms of developing the products. The product ranges, we've had a small family bringing it, we've grown quite organically. Yeah. So the tin that's in the middle there, that looks like this. It's we started with these in 2013, and they're still our bestseller. And they're made by, it's all British made tin, made by the last tin can maker of London. And they've got like a solar farm on their factory roof. So we really try really hard in the way that we're presenting the products to be beautiful and simple, but also as eco-friendly as possible, just to kind of like reinforce the values of actually what the company is all about.
Reinforce our message.
Yeah. And so the tube that's above the tin, that came out a few years ago, and that's really to try and we wanted something that would like work well in a garden centre, that would hang alongside your traditional seed packs. And the new all the colourful boxes that look like this one here. This is really cute. Inside here we've got lots of little matchboxes, and each one has got a mix for the different type of wildlife that it supports. And it's great because it's not just about bees and butterflies. Well, it is about bees and butterflies, but it's also about the wider kind of wildlife that visits your garden as well.
And helping to almost educate sounds really condescending, not that, but just show that there's an ecosystem that's all dependent on these tiny little insects, you know. So if our flowers are in place that attract the insects, you're going to get the birds, you're going to get the bats, you're going to get, you know, that wider range of animals, hedgehogs to your garden as well.
Yeah, it's and we have the most amazing response. I mean, the people get, so our challenge is just enough people kind of knowing about what it is we're doing, but generally when people hear about what we're doing, people are blown away by it. It's really exciting. And our pots, so these are new, so the mini meadow pots that are in the slide there, they are 3 bamboo pots. So we've always fancied, my grandma told me we should do this, we always fancied doing an all-in-one kit, where basically you get the pot and you get the soil and you get the seeds as well. So we've used these, is it Koya? The Koya, so inside you get 3 bamboo pots, you get some Koya discs, and the wildflowers seem to absolutely dig growing on these. We were having so much fun growing things on them. So you essentially add water, and then it kind of will be enough to fill up the whole pot. And then inside you get.
You just get your garden in a box.
Yeah, and it's super fun. So that's one of the latest things we've been working on, and we've also started making. So we've been making individual balls as well. So traditionally, so far we've always made kind of mixes, like a bee mix, that mix, and now we started selling individual flowers. So if you just totally love red campion, you can just get red campion. We've done some bluebells and some
people are very passionate about forget-me-not as well, and poppies, like individual species like that. And you can this means that people can curate the garden that they want, you know, the colours that they like, we found. So that's been good. Yeah,
and that's that. I think we're probably, oh gosh, I didn't do my thank you slide. There you go. Thank you. So I think, I'm not sure how long that we've but yeah, I think, but yeah, would love to chat to anybody. We're totally excited by all things.
And we and anybody can always contact obviously Honest Media and Holly and Faye to ask any other questions or forward anything to us.
Yeah, so I wanted to know more about kind of the campaigns and initiatives that you work on, because you're constantly always doing different partnerships with people, like you're doing schools giveaways and things like that and donations. What would be the dream partnership you would like to do?
So yeah, so we've done some, so when we actually manufacture the balls, quite a lot of them sometimes we get ones that are a bit funny shaped. So we always, anything that's like that, we will always donate it to schools and community groups. And yeah, we've done some great stuff with Wildlife Trust and Plant Life. We work really closely with Plant Life. But I think in the long run,
we care less about, like, the dream thing is not an organisation, but communities, you know. So we are really ready to get pushing into the Project Maya side of Seedball. We spent a long time growing the business and getting our business chops in place, and now it's time to kind of index on working with communities, partnering with local communities, empowering them, and maybe like local spokespeople that work with them, and we can give them seed balls, we can help facilitate them finding land, you know. So really going back to our conservation roots even more.
Yeah, it's like connecting with as many small groups and networks as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that's becoming easier to do as well, because there is this sort of heightened awareness of it and the benefits, and everyone's sort of so behind it, and having got out and enjoyed nature over the last year as well, there just seems to be this huge demand out there. But I guess on the flip side of that, there's an argument that it could be sort of complacency and sort of people like, oh, we've done that, we've supported that cause. How do you sit on sort of seeing enthusiasm for the future or dying off, I guess?
Yeah, I think, you know, like people, it's amazing, not just the lockdown, but it's been growing even since like the Olympics, when wildflowers were used in landscaping there. We've watched it, we've ridden this kind of amazing tide with people. So it's growing and it's growing. And during lockdown, I think people are just desperate for new life and new hope and colour. And, you know, they want to save the world. It all feels a little bit depressing. So this is like a way of doing your own thing.
It's a bit of hope.
It's hopeful. It's amazing. So I think that's really good from a community perspective.
We worry about something like, I think the issue,
some things we haven't seen changes with.
Yeah, so like the peat. So we were talking about the fact it's really important that we don't use peat in the seed balls, and like peat bogs are massively important.
I worked with a professor that was their research was on peatlands, you know, and the importance of that. We kind of thought it was going to just all get banned like 10 years ago. And yet still we're back again to campaigning, back to social media, signing.
It's sold everywhere and it's still sold really widely, and a lot of people don't really understand. So yeah, so we're hopeful, and we think within the context of like people, the way they see their gardens, but I think there's some things are still a long
grassroots wise amazing. And it's so it's you know, it's great seeing some of these innovations that we're even talking about today, where we're talking about, you know, mowing a little less, mulching into the lawn, these kind of things. There's loads of stuff that we're talking about even with bigger companies, which are really hopeful. But yeah,
we'll talk forever, sorry.
That's great. No, I'm passionate about it, it's amazing. But yeah, I'm going to have to move on to the next speaker, I'm afraid. But
awesome, thank you
guys. Which leads us, bear with me, to our final guest, who needs no introduction, but I shall give him one anyway. So we have Richard Jackson joining us now. So Richard's had a lifelong love of plants. Gardening has taken him across many areas of the industry, so he's got a really unique depth of horticultural knowledge and experience. So his Flower Power premium plant food launched in 2007 and has since sold over 1 million packets. The Flower Power range has then continued to expand, and Richard's here to talk us through some of the bestsellers and some of the new launches as well. And then he's also going to be discussing Plantsmith, which is a new range that he's created in conjunction with his son Nick. So I shall hand over to you, Richard.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here and lovely to see everyone, actually. I've really enjoyed the presentations I've seen. So there's always something new and exciting to discover in gardening. That's what I love about it. As Holly said, I've been around for about 50 years in gardening. I've loved every single minute of it. I've worked for garden centres, I've worked for the industry, I've worked for Hilliers and Notcuts. And during that time, I started working for QVC, and Michael is now the resident garden expert, but I was there a tiny bit before him. And during that time at QVC, I realized there was a sort of need for products which actually perhaps weren't being supplied by the garden centres, particularly the professional products I'd come across in the past that professional gardeners had used, relied on and trusted them, and their livelihoods depended on the quality of their products. And that's why I first introduced Flower Power as a plant food with a difference. This is it, Holly mentioned it just now. This is a different type of plant food in that it has more potash in than any other plant food that I know. And all gardeners will know how important potash is for flowers and fruits and vegetables. Now, when I introduced it, I said, look, I think this is good. I tested it in my garden. I worked with a guy called Dr. Arnie Rainbow, great name. And Dr. Arnie Rainbow developed this product with me, and we tested it and it worked. I brought it to QVC and something amazing happened, because what happened the year after we'd introduced it is customers started sending in photos of their plants. And I've had sort of photos like this. Sorry, this is such a crude way of presenting stuff because I'm rubbish with technology. So I'm just going to show you photos. And I've got loads of photos like this. This is the Lancaster family saying, since we use Flower Power, our plants have doubled in size. And I've got photos of people, you know, with their proud hanging baskets fed with Flower Power, fruits and veg and things like that, you know, so strawberries, and they tasted delicious, said June Angrove. And then what was great, I developed Flower Power from a professional product used by professional gardeners. And then recently the professionals have started using it. In the past 4 years, they've won over 100 gold medals and first prizes for Flower Power fed plants. And I've got pictures like this. It's from Taylor's Clematis Nursery, Chelsea, with gold medals and fruits and veg and things like that. So it was great, but Flower Power really took off. And now I think it's probably the second biggest selling soluble plant feed in the UK. So encouraged by that, I introduced some other products, including Lawn Magic, which is based on something used by around 80% of the Premier rugby and football clubs to get sort of greener turf and stronger pitches. And I brought that into QVC as well, and that's done well. And again, it sells on recommendations and pictures, which you can't show in garden centres. That's the interesting thing. That's why QVC has been a great way to show, to demonstrate, to talk about these products. So you get pictures of lawns, you know, a builder's lawn, pre-Lawn Magic, then one application, Lawn Magic. So it's QVC has been a great way to show and to develop this. So I began selling on QVC for a number of whiles whilst I was still there, sort of garden expert. But also recently started introducing plants, and we've had some brilliant plants. This year, we've introduced the world's first pollen-free lily. Now, it looks as though those anthers are going to open up with pollen, but they don't. So it's got all the beauty of an ordinary lily, but it opens up with no pollen that can affect cats or get onto your clothes or sort of stain the tablecloth. And it's got an amazing fragrance as well. So we introduced that on QVC this year. Also, another plant. If you're looking for one plant to grow in your garden this year, lots of you will probably know of Allium Millennium, which is a fantastic plant. It flowers, it's a summer flowering herbaceous allium. So it doesn't last for about 2 to 3 weeks as ordinary alliums do. This goes on and on and on. And taking up Emily and Anna's point, this is our real butterfly and bee magnet. So it's been an amazing plant. It's been around for a few years. It's the perennial of the year, I think 2-3 years ago. So that's known about, but what not many people know about is this one. It's called Lavender Bubbles. And this one came out this year. We're selling it on QVC. It's astonishing. That's one plant, probably 2-3 years old, but it flowers for about 2 months. It is amazing with butterflies and bees, and they are just covered with them. It really is an extraordinary plant. So again, that's something I'm proud to have introduced on QVC this year. So that's all been great fun. But also, we've introduced some very interesting, talking about natural products. This, because the real product didn't arrive today. So this is a surprise pack I'm going to have to show you without the label on it. This is a way of treating box plants. Now, box plants, as lots of you know, get that dreadful caterpillar. And there are a number of ways people talk about treating it. I was horrified to see a leaflet come out recently talking about neem insecticides and how they're safe and good for the environment. It's a banned product, neem, so it should never be used or recommended. There's another one, you can use the fungus, Bacillus thuringiensis, I can't pronounce it. Well, rubbish gardener I am. But that again, you have to have a professional qualification to use it theoretically, even though it's sold through Amazon. This is extraordinary, this surprise bottle. What it is a totally natural, 100% natural oils, and you spray it onto your box plants and it cleans and shines and protects the leaves, but also deters the box caterpillar. So we've only just launched it. We launched a ready-to-use spray and a concentrate as well. And anyone who's got box plants, this is a revolutionary, totally safe product. It is brilliant. And the box plants look great because they've got this wonderful glow, healthy glow as well. So that's a brand new product. Sorry, I haven't got the real thing here. Another thing that Holly mentioned was something we're really proud of. My son Nick has helped introduce this. We wanted to target, that's a horrible word, we wanted to appeal to a younger audience as well, because as Emily and Anna were saying, it's that younger audience that we want to get into gardening. So a lot of them growing houseplants. We all know what a huge market houseplants are now. So we wanted something that might appeal to younger gardeners, but also that would look good as well. So we've just introduced our Plantsmith range, and it's a range which basically we wanted to look good and really work well. So these are special professional formulations. They're in glass bottles. We're looking at special refills for them as well. And they are easy to use, and they've started selling. And the great thing is they've started selling in lots of garden centres. Burford garden centres keep reordering. The RHS have started selling it. John Lewis have started selling it and they're sold out. And they've just taken more in, which is great news. But it was in the Waitrose magazine at the weekend saying it's a product that looks as good as it works. And it's hot off the press. We just launched our gift care kits, which contain 2 of the bottles. And again, they started to sell in John Lewis and 1 or 2 other places. So it's an exciting time. We've got a great team working with us. I'm the old fogey in the background saying, oh, I'm not sure about that. So I probably hold everyone back, but I love the garden. But one of the things we're proudest of this year is our Couch to 5 a Day challenge, because we know lots of people last year got into gardening. They went to the garden centre if they could, if it was open at the time, and they were buying lots of plants. And basically, a lot of people weren't getting the success they needed. So we wanted to introduce a kit to make it easier to grow your own fruits and vegetables. So we introduced our first kit, which came out in March time, introduced it with this special leaflet to show you what to do. It came with the plants, it came with the tubers, it came with the seeds. And I was thrilled. It was taken up on social media. I was thrilled because it sold out in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. So we just launched a second kit, our Couch to 5 a Day challenge. Notice that play on words. Actually, I thought of that one. I was quite chuffed. And this is the second kit's just coming out. And it's brilliant value because it's got tomato plants, it's got pepper plants, it's got climbing French beans, it's got perpetual spinach, and all in there. And with some amazing Sleeping Beauty strawberry runners, it's just under 15 quid, including postage and packing. So we hope we're going to get lots of people into gardening through the Couch to 5 a Day challenge. So basically, that's it. I'm an old fogey. I've been in the business for years, but I'm still getting a great deal of pleasure from it. It's fun. And here's to the future. And here's the future of more natural gardening as well. Holly, back to you.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask Richard is, what's been your sort of career highlight through all the different things that you've done?
I've done some extraordinary things, Holly. I mean, I've been really fortunate. I presented Grassroots for Meridian TV for years, and I worked with lots of amazing gardeners. So we had guests on every week. We had Alan Titchmarsh, we had Charlie Dimmock and Pippa Greenwood and Tommy Walsh and people like that. All these people came on, and it was just great getting to work with them and know them. Monty Don was on it as well, and that was great fun. But it was a privilege, actually, because we went round all these gardens. And so every week, and we might have a run of 26 weeks, we go to private individuals' gardens and see them and talk to them. But then afterwards, we go to a bigger garden, which will be open for that day, and we get loads of gardeners come in with their questions. So it's like Gardeners Question Time meets Antiques Roadshow. And that was fun. I really enjoyed that. So that's a highlight. One other highlight, and this is a bit of a secret, I was Gordon the Gopher's gardener. I was on Going Live with Philip Schofield, and I was there. There was this guy holding the puppet there. He was down there, and there was the garden. I did it with Sarah Green, and I was trying to get kids into gardening, you know, growing banana plants and sensitive plants and peanuts as well. That was a highlight.
Well, there we go. I said there was going to be some exclusives today, so that's probably quite a nice one to end on. Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. And we can upload all the information that's been talked about today, including the box product, so people can see what the bottle will actually look like as well. So that brings us to a close of the first ever Honest Media Show. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you found it useful. Before we all disappear, just want to briefly let you know about a couple of the other clients who haven't been able to join us today. We also work with Hillier, who have now got 17 garden centres, having just opened their last one last week at Syon Park, which is a stunning venue. They've absolutely transformed it, and it's a new direction for Hillier, so we've got lots to come on that one. We also work with Oxenwood, who specialise in creating bespoke, oversized Belgian bluestone furniture for both indoor and outdoor use. If you've not seen their stunning pieces yet, I suggest you take a look. They're beautiful. They've also recently launched their new outdoor kitchen, which is proving very popular, particularly with all the outdoor entertaining we've all been doing at the moment. One of our newest clients is Redbook, who are a luxury property consultancy, and they've got advisors on their board across a whole array of specialisms. So it's garden design, property, architecture, art, interior design. So they've got all those experts available for any commentary that anyone needs if they're writing any articles on any of those subjects. We're also working with Hansa Chippers, who are about to launch some big campaigns in the next couple of weeks about that, so stay tuned, as well as Antiques Boutique, so it's an online antiques marketplace. This is a bit more on the non-garden sector, but just letting you know about our other clients, we've got a company called Fur Boost, which is healthy hydration for dogs, and then Clean Living, which is a range of biological refillable cleaning products too. We don't just help our brands with their PR either, we also offer social media services. And with Virtual Chelsea around the corner, we're gearing up our plans for that. So we're always on the lookout for social media opportunities of how we can link with our clients and media and titles as well. So if anything comes to mind for what you're planning for Virtual Chelsea we can help with, then please do get in touch. If you've got any other questions or queries following today, or anything in the future about any of our clients, just let us know. We're going to be sending out a feedback form as well after the show. So if anything does come to mind, we would really appreciate your honest feedback to help us evolve this event for the future. And our clients have kindly donated an array of products as well. So we're going to pick someone at random from who's attended today and send out a whole host of gardening goodies to you. And then one final thing on the admin side before I go away, we have created the Honest Digital Media Lounge. So we're going to be sending around the access link to that shortly. And that's going to have press releases, images, videos, all the presentations from today, any contact details you may need, just loads of stuff basically will be uploaded to there. And that's going to be regularly updated going forward in the future as well. It's not just about the show. So if ever in the future you want a quick reference or some images you can just dip into, that's just there. Help yourselves to whatever you need. And the link's in the show guide. So that's it from me and the Honest team here, and all of our clients. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, and we'll see you all soon.